that we take in a substance. For example, a sugar, saccharide. Everybody knows that's sugar, right? Okay. Let's say we take in a saccharide. Now, note that in the case of a disaccharide, something like table sugar would be a disaccharide, okay? Table sugar, look at what I've got here. I've got O here, OH over here, O, 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 OH. If I add a water molecule, it will allow that bond to get broken. It will supply one of my H's to one side, OH to the other, and I now have two sugar molecules. Now note, the body wants it in the form of glucose. Glucose is the only sugar the body can use. Every foodstuff you take in, the body, if it needs to, can convert it to glucose. What did I just say?
Even if it takes in other sugars or other things, it'll convert it to glucose. Turn it into what it actually needs or what it can use, what it can break down.
What other type of foodstuffs do we take in besides sugars? Well, those are our sugars. Proteins, lipids. Wait a minute. My sugars, my proteins, my lipids, my body can convert every bit of that to glucose if needed? Yes. There's a reason why. Glucose is the only sugar the body can use, and the one thing that the body has to give glucose to is the brain. The body will strive in every way possible to supply the brain with glucose. Glucose is, of course, the most important. When we talk about these reactions that are going to occur in the body, we know that we're either going to have reactants go to products or products to reactants, all right? And when we think about all of these chemical reactions that are taking place in the body, have you ever heard the term equilibrium? What does it make you think about?
Balance.
Balance. This is what we tend to think about because people might be like, wow, you know, my equilibrium feels off today, okay? Now, they're talking about an equilibrium of being able to maintain their place in space. A lot of times, due to the inner ear. Forget that one for right now. Not totally. Okay? We're talking about the cellular level. Do you think our body would be effective if every cell of the body was at equilibrium? Why?
Because they need, certain things need to fire, so different equilibriums in the outside of the cell
versus the inside of the cell.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Would we be dead? Isn't that how the heart works?
Yeah. See, we're going to need to make sure that the inside of the cell versus the outside of the cell is not at equilibrium. What cell of the body do we need to be at equilibrium? There is one. Hmm? The red blood cell. Because we are animal cells, that having a cell have more on one side versus the other, it's going to allow materials to cross that plasma membrane, and one of those materials is water, okay? Water in addition to all of these other substances. But our red blood cells, because we only have plasma membranes, they can't withstand a huge influx of water. They'll burst. And we can't have a huge outpull of water because they'll shrink. Either way, they die. Okay? So with our red blood cells, one thing we do need that's good is to make sure that water is moving back and forth relatively easily. All right? Now, these reactions that can occur when something has to give up an electron, when something has to gain an electron, it creates a special situation. It is a reaction that is called oxidation and reduction. Anybody in here taking chemistry? Do you remember these in chemistry? Aren't they a lot of fun? Yeah. I know, right? It's kind of like, oh, it gives you a headache just thinking about it. Now, electrons, positive or negatively charged? Negative. How do we get a balance with electrons? You told me the other day, because I mentioned the area of the body that is very dependent on electrons, the electron transport chain. How did we balance?
Sodium, potassium.
You gave me another element. Do you remember what you gave me? It's our cellular respiration, and the electron transport chain, as it moves down, what flows back across? What element? Hydrogen. You balance electrons, because they're negative, with hydrogens that are positive. This is an oxidation-reduction reaction. The best example that I can give you is the one that's extremely important in the body to generate ATP, which is cellular respiration. Now, when we talk about this energy, because when a bond is built, okay, when you build a bond, energy gets stored. When you break a bond, energy is given off. Okay? Now, energy. In our bodies, energy can be defined in a few ways. Energy is, of course, the capacity to do work. We have potential energy, the potential to do something. In our body, energy is in the form of what? ATPs. Adenosine triphosphate. So that tells me I got a great big huge molecule, all right, adenosine, and attached to it are 3 phosphate groups. When it is in the form of ATP, is it a high energy molecule or low energy? It's very high. All right? So it has the potential to do something. So it has the potential to go, say, power a protein in the plasma membrane. To do that, what has to happen? A phosphate breaks off. Or the body breaks the bond. And I now have ADP and this inorganic phosphate, which is now ready to go and give that energy to something. Does that make sense? So my ATP has the potential to do something. Kinetic. With kinetic energy, energy in motion. That protein in the plasma membrane has been powered. It can change shape and let a substance across the plasma membrane. So that would be kinetic energy. We have also mechanical energy. Mechanical is just like the name implies. Movement of something. We have chemical energy. This is going to be what we get in chemical bonds. Good example, the formation of that ATP from that electron transport chain. Heat energy. First and second laws of thermodynamics. The first law tells me I cannot create nor destroy energy. The second law tells me I can only change its form. In the process, there is not a 100% transfer of energy. So, for every bond that gets broken in the body, some of that energy is given off in the form of heat. Why is that important to the human body? Homeostasis.
Maintaining the temperature.
Maintaining the body temperature. Maintaining the body temperature at 98.6 is going to ensure that the proteins of my body function correctly. That is optimum temperature. Now, at any point in time, you're over 50% proteins because, once again, the only thing that can be made is a protein. Just saying. Okay? Now, I kind of talked about this a minute ago. With ATP, this will be high energy. Energy got stored when the bond of that phosphate was added back to it. When you break the bond, you get a low energy and a high energy inorganic phosphate. This becomes important because we're going to see that in the plasma membrane of a cell, for example, the membrane of the cell is selectively permeable. It's going to choose what gets into the cell, what gets out of the cell. And some of the proteins actually have to change their shape for materials to move. Now, we're going to see that ATP is going to be needed to generate the energy for muscle contraction. Actually, for the muscle to release. I know, sounds weird, right? Okay? But when the muscle cells contract, that energy is needed so that these protein filaments inside release and the muscle relaxes. If ATP is not present, that muscle stays in that contracted state. That's kind of cool. Think about it. Think about it every time your muscles move. So, a big thing that we have to do, form ATP, break the bonds, energy that we get, we're going to have heat energy, which we can't recapture in any way, okay? The body can't recapture, we can't recapture that in our environment. Every chemical reaction that's occurring right now around us, giving off some form of heat, getting trapped into the atmosphere that we can't recapture and use. All right, entropy. Don't know if y'all heard that. The biggest thing that we do with this heat that gets produced is maintaining homeostasis, i.e. temperature of the body.